The first time Amora opened the box, she didn't notice the scar on her arm had vanished. By the third time, her reflection in the mirror began to fade. Amora had always been curious. Her grandmother's attic was a treasure trove of old things, dusty books, cracked pottery, and faded photographs. But the key caught her eye. It was small, rusted, and tied to a piece of string. Beneath it lay an old wooden box, carved with strange symbols that seemed to shift when she looked too long. When she turned the key, the box clicked open. Inside was a map, drawn on brittle paper. The lines glowed faintly, as if alive. That night, Amora followed the map to the edge of the village, where the forest grew thick and dark. The air smelled of wet earth and something sweet, like rotting fruit. The hidden world was beautiful at first. The trees shimmered with golden leaves, and the sky was a deep, endless purple. But the people there were strange. They smiled too wide, their eyes black and empty. They called her by a name she didn't recognize. When Amora returned home, her mother didn't seem to notice her. Her little brother asked, "Who are you?" The next time she entered the hidden world, she lost a memory, her first day of school. Then her favorite song. Then her grandmother's face. The people in the hidden world began to change. Their smiles turned sharp, their voices low and hissing. "Stay with us," they whispered. "You belong here now." Amora stood at the edge of the forest, clutching the map. The key felt heavy in her pocket. She knew if she went back one more time, she might lose everything, her family, her memories, even her name. But the hidden world called to her, its golden light flickering like a dying flame. She had to choose, the magic of a world that wanted to consume her, or the life she was slowly forgetting. And the key waited, cold and heavy, in her trembling hand. Amora's grandmother had always warned her about the forest. "There are things there that don't belong in this world," she would say, her voice low and serious. But Amora had never listened. She was too young, too curious, too brave. The first time she entered the hidden world, it felt like a dream. The air was warm, and the ground beneath her feet was soft and mossy. The trees seemed to hum with a quiet melody, and the golden leaves shimmered like stars. But the people, they were the ones who made her uneasy. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow in the dim light. Their smiles were too wide, their teeth too sharp. They called her Nia, a name she didn't recognize. "Welcome, Nia," they said, their voices echoing in the stillness. "We've been waiting for you." Amora didn't know what to say. She felt a strange pull, as if the world itself was drawing her in. But something in their eyes made her want to run. When she returned home, she didn't notice the scar on her arm was gone. It was a small scar, from when she had fallen off her bike as a child. But it was a part of her, a memory etched into her skin. And now it was gone. The next time she entered the hidden world, she lost a memory. It was her first day of school, a day she had always cherished. She could remember the smell of her mother's perfume, the feel of her new uniform, the sound of her teacher's voice. But now it was gone, replaced by a blank space in her mind. The people in the hidden world seemed to grow more eager with each visit. Their smiles grew wider, their eyes darker. They began to follow her, their whispers growing louder. "Stay with us, Nia," they said. "You belong here now." Amora began to feel afraid. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew it wasn't right. She tried to stay away, to ignore the pull of the hidden world. But the key called to her, its rusted surface glowing faintly in the dark. One night, she couldn't resist. She took the key and followed the map once more. This time, the hidden world was different. The golden leaves had turned black, and the sky was a deep, angry red. The people were no longer smiling. Their eyes were hollow, their voices cold. "You've taken too much," they said. "You can't leave now." Amora felt a chill run down her spine. She turned to run, but the forest seemed to close in around her. The trees twisted and groaned, their branches reaching out like claws. The ground beneath her feet began to crack, and she felt herself falling into the darkness. When she woke up, she was back in her grandmother's attic. The key was still in her hand, but the map was gone. She looked at her reflection in the dusty mirror and gasped. Her face was fading, her features blurring like a forgotten memory. She knew she had to make a choice. The hidden world was calling to her, its golden light flickering like a dying flame. But if she went back, she might lose everything, her family, her memories, even her name. Amora stood at the edge of the forest, clutching the key. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and rotting fruit. The hidden world was waiting, its dark trees swaying in the wind. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The key turned in the lock, and the box clicked open. And the world began to fade.